Hello, this is the final of 5 videos about the fundamental theories and practices that should always be considered when creating a computer-assisted language learning environment. Theories that are based on widely accepted educational theory and practice. The videos are originally recorded to be used in one particular class, but I'm making them available for other people to see also. So in this video, we'll add some perspective about the standard model of CALL learning design, including applying the standard model to CALL learning design, applying the standard model to CALL research design, some educational and learning philosophy, and then some final thoughts. So first, we'll review some of the first main points. Here's my formal definition of the standard model of CALL learning design, a foundation and framework for common elements that all CALL learning design should take into consideration as part of designing a fine-tuned local learning environment. There are so many local factors that can affect outcomes of CALL research and learning that it's really hard to list all of them, but some of the major ones are listed here. A key part of this local context is the curriculum and learning design, which in the scholarly research literature often have not been based on theory that's been proven again and again, meaning that the research outcomes may also be flawed and not reproducible. That means that what a research study has found was successful may not be successful if you try it in your classes, but creating excellent local teaching and learning requires a solid theoretical foundation. And so the standard model of CALL is how we unify these multiple theories into a practical curriculum design. While the emphasis of CALL research often focuses on technology, I hope that this discussion of the theory-based learning context can lead to more effective overall learning design, leading to greater student success and better research outcomes. As we've discussed in previous videos, the 9 foundational concepts of the standard model of CALL should always be considered in planning CALL learning design, and therefore in CALL research design also. Now, this does not mean that every one of the 9 elements must always be used in every learning situation. Rather, each should be evaluated for appropriateness given the particular outcome goals of the class and the resulting learning objectives. I think that good learning design will employ most of the 9 elements, and that any omitted will be really dependent on the specific circumstances of the local learning environment. Some of them should probably be used all the time, like student-centered active learning and educational engineering. But for example, whether you use gamification depends on the outcome goals of your class. I think that teaching should be a vocation. Now, a vocation is a job, but one for which a person is particularly suited or qualified. Something that they feel is their mission in life is very important. We should see teaching as a great and an important thing. We should experience delight when our students succeed, and we should see the learning of our students as the most important mission in our lives. Now, for many teachers, particularly those teaching English as a foreign language, this process and the framework of the standard model represent a significant change in the way they have thought about teaching up to now. I know EFL teachers who rely mostly on lecture and memorization. I know EFL teachers who rarely, if ever, actually speak English in the classroom. I know EFL teachers that never use the same technology tools 2 semesters in a row. Many faculty members teach the way they were taught, sometimes years ago, and that's often not the best role model. And many faculty members tend to be focused on their own benefits. That's not always best for the students. So we should see learning as a partnership between teachers and students. The brains of students are not empty. We can't just inject knowledge into their brains and knowledge and ability and expect them to automatically be able to use it. But that's the mindset behind using lecture only for an instructional technique. As I said, teachers and students must be learning partners. The students learn because the teacher provides the environment and the activities in which students can learn. Now, some of this is done by technology, certainly, but it goes far beyond that. The teacher is not the final authority who may not be questioned. The teacher is a partner in the learning of the students. I argue that the more questions the teacher receives, the better, because learning is social. It's interaction, teaching, learning, more than one student interacting with the teacher. So questions and answers enhance learning. To be effective teachers, we need to understand how people learn. And by that, I mean how they learn the best, in the best way. So we use theory-based teaching and learning techniques and activities that best match how our students learn. Now, this requires deep thought and innovation and adaptability to plan it and to understand how to make it the work best. It's not something for guesswork. It's not simply what's most convenient. A positive outcome for students is the most important definition of a good teacher. So we always need to focus on becoming a better teacher using better teaching techniques, which leads to better learning activities and tasks. And that needs to be a continuous process of improvement for us. There are different philosophies about learning and about how learning works. These theories tell us how we teach. We take the theory and we teach based on the theory. And there's probably no one philosophy that is best, that is ideal, but I have to say that some are better than others. My educational philosophy is progressive. That means that I see education as a process of growth through the construction of experience by the students. I think that experience is an important part of educational growth. And I see my job as a teacher as helping students change their perspective through their classroom and their school experiences. And particularly, that means fitting new ideas in with what they already know to construct more and more elaborate meaning. So in keeping with the principles of constructivism and cognitive psychology, learners need to do that. They need to fit new information with what they already know and build many connections, not just one or two connections, build many connections in order to be able to recall the information and then use it. You know, university students, particularly undergraduates, are generally in the process of change. Maybe it's the first time they've lived away from home, lived away from their parents, the first time they've really made their own decisions about things. Everyone who graduates is different from when they were a new first-year student. So I think teaching style also needs to adapt to where the students are in their development. Teachers must constantly be leading the learner to the next step. So I apply this theoretical base and this progressive philosophy in different ways, depending on the level of development of the students. Freshmen and seniors, for example, need different educational experiences within this framework. Generally, however, I don't spend a lot of time in class repeating the textbook. often I give students study guides to help them sort out what I see as the important points in what they're reading, for example, in the textbook. We review the study guides in class to hold them accountable for the information. But mainly I do things in class that enrich the book, not just say it again. I'm also very aware of the attention span of undergraduates. I structure my classes to do something different every 20 minutes or so I don't lose their attention. I use things, I do some lecture in short amounts, large and small group discussion activities, an occasional video, similar things to keep their attention, but all planned so that the elements reinforce each other. And the key information I want the students to take away from the class comes at them again and again through these different activities. Of course, I use technology for some of these things, and some classes for many of these things, where the affordances of the technology match the outcome requirements of the tasks that I assign. And certainly, I test the students' knowledge of appropriate facts, but I also spend a lot of time getting them to think deeply about the topics of the class. So we've talked quite a bit about applying the standard model to learning design, but it's also important to apply it in research design. These videos are more about the learning design than about research, but everything we've said about learning design also applies when a research project is studying teaching and learning. Conducting effective research that produces strong findings is the result of strong research design, but the research must also employ strong learning design, at least if that's what's being studied, how students learn, how effectively students learn in different ways. If the learning design for research is weak, the data collected will not be as reliable as desired. And in turn, manuscripts that are published about less than optimum studies will not likely achieve publication in the most prestigious journals. So CAUL research designers must ensure that they expose their students, their participants, to superior learning activities. In turn, that means that researchers must employ the standard model of CAUL as their framework for designing the instructional components of their research studies. So curriculum planning, understanding how students learn, all of these things we've talked about requires innovation. Excellent local teaching and learning requires these strong theoretical foundations that I keep mentioning. It requires developing evidence-based outcome goals. It includes ensuring strong learning activities and tasks. We have to select the best technology to provide these activities and tasks based on affordances. We need to be learning partners with our students. We need to focus on student success, not just on faculty success. And we need to ground our curriculum and lesson plans in the standard model of CAUL learning design. So while the emphasis of CAUL research focuses on how technology benefits learning, the better we understand the learning context in terms of validated educational theory, the more effective the overall learning design will be. That leads to greater student success, but also to better research outcomes. Remember, the most important question is not whether a certain technology is used. The important question in CAUL research is how is the technology used to help students achieve the needed outcomes. So here's our diagram of the standard model of CAUL learning design that I showed you back in video number 1. Each of the 9 parts of the model has been shown many times to benefit learning, and they reinforce each other. The standard model is how we blend them together into the best possible learning environment that will result in the best student learning outcomes. Thank you for taking the time to watch these videos. I've enjoyed sharing these ideas with you. If you've watched all 5 of the videos, I know that you've invested some time, so I hope that I've given you some ideas about which you will give thoughtful consideration. Thank you very much for watching.